In this video, we'll be looking at how to sketch functions or several functions on the same axis. Okay, the question here says sketch the following functions on the same axis. I says f of x is equal to x cubed minus x squared minus 4x plus 4. I says f of x is equal to 3 minus 2x. So we have to sketch these two functions on the same axis. How do we do that? Now, to solve this question, I will take the first function. So solution there. Solution. First function there, I, you have that f of x, this it's equal to x cubed minus x squared, this into minus 4x, so minus 4x and then plus 4. You have this. Okay, so the first task is to find the zeros of the function. All right, find something called the zeros of the function. Now, when we say we want to find the zeros of the function, what exactly do we mean? Now, the first thing you want to do here is to say let f of x, so let f of x, the function, let f of x be equal to y. Okay, if f of x is equal to y, that means this particular function, this one here, wherever I see f of x, I'll put y. And if that's so, that means I'll replace this one here by y. So f of x is equal to y. I'll have that y is equal to x cubed minus x squared minus 4x plus 4. All right. So I have substituted f of x as y. The next task here is that I would say let x be equal to what there? 0, and see the value of y. If x is 0, we'll have that y it's equal to, when we have x cubed, that becomes 0 cubed minus, when we have x squared, that becomes 0 squared minus, when we have 4x, now don't forget we said x is 0, that becomes 4 times x, that's 0, then we have plus 4. If you solve this, we'll have that y, right, we'll have that y is equal to, this is 0, this gives you 0, this gives you 0, then you have plus 4. So 0 minus 0 minus 0 plus 4 gives you 4. So hence, our first coordinate is taken as when x is 0, y is 4. So this is the first coordinate to note, right? Your first point, at x equal to 0, y is 4. Now, when you get your point, don't forget that when it comes to representing coordinates, we write coordinates in this form, x, comma, y. That means the value of x comes first, separated by comma, and then you now have the value of y, right? So when x is 0, comma, y is 4. So that's my first point. And that's what you have written there, which is this part here, hence 0, 4. Now I'm done with this part here. Now this 0, 4, we got this when x is equal to 0, right? We said y is 4. The question will now be, what is the value of x when y is 0? So after doing let x equal to 0, you now say let y equal to 0. So let y be equal to 0. If y is 0, what do we have? The function said y is equal to x cubed minus x squared minus 4x plus 4. We'll take y as 0. So we'll have that 0 is equal to x cubed. Let's write that down. When y is 0, the equation becomes y, which is 0, is equal to x cubed minus x squared minus 4x plus 4. Basically the same thing as you have here. All right, same thing as you have here. Just take y to be 0. That's all. All right, so with this, looking at this, we can still rearrange this to be equal to, we can still write this. We write this equation as x cubed minus x squared minus 4x plus 4. It's equal to 0. It's the same thing. And looking at this now, you can see that what we have here is now a cubic equation. We now have a cubic equation. So we have to solve this particular cubic equation, or as they call it, a polynomial in degree 3. By degree 3, I mean the power here. So you can see the highest power of x here is 3. So how do we solve polynomials of this function, or how do we solve cubic equation? What do we do? Well, it's simple. The first thing you want to do is to assume values, right? You say let x be equal to, if I have my number line like this is 0. After 0, you have 1. After 1, you have 2. After 2, you have 3. Of course, you also have minus 1. After minus 1, you have minus 2, minus 3, and so on. Now, to solve this kind of equation, the first thing you want to do is that you assume, it's kind of an assumption, assume x is equal to 1. Fix 1 into this equation and see if it gives you 0. If it gives you 0, it is correct. That's a root of the equation. If it does not give you 0, you put x as minus 1. If this does not give you 0, put x as 2 and then minus 2 and then 3 and then minus 3 until you get your 0. Right? So it's 1, then you take minus 1, take 2, then minus 2, take 3, then minus, just like that until you get your 0. But let's start with 1, right? So we'll say at x equal to 1, let's test it. So you say assume x is equal to 1. Let's see what this gives. If this gives us 0, good. We can proceed. If x is 1, that means x cubed here becomes 1 cube. So we have something that looks like 1 cube minus x squared becomes 1 squared. So minus 1 squared minus 4x becomes 4 times 1. That's 4 times x now 1, then plus 4 plus 4. What's the answer to this? This is equal to 1 cube. The value there is actually 1. Let me write this below this. 1 cube, the value there is 1 minus 1 squared, the value is 1 minus 4 times 1, that gives you minus 4 plus 4. If you do this, this gives you 1 minus 1, that's 0. Then minus 4 plus 4, that's 0. You can punch it with your calculator. The answer will be equal to what there? 0. So that means x equal to 1 is a factor. Hence, this one here is a factor. This is a factor because when I substituted into the function, it gave me 0, as you can see here. So if this did not give me 0, if it gave me a different answer, perhaps positive or negative, I would have tried x equal to minus 1, right? If minus 1 does not give me 0, I'll take x as equal to 2 until I get the 0. But luckily, x equal to 1 gave me a value. That means x, so hence I can say that x equal to 1 is a factor. Now, what do I do next? Your next task here, you move this 1 into this, like bring 1 back here. If I, of course, this one here is a positive 1. If I move 1 over the equality sign, it becomes negative. So you have x minus 1. You have this. So x minus 1, this is equal to 0. So observe what I did. I simply moved that factor into, I brought it, I moved the 1 there to the other side of the equality sign, and you had plus 1 became minus 1 equal to 0. All right, so I have this one here. One of the things to note is that this function here is called a cubic function because the highest power of x is 3. And for equations of this form, right, this highest power here tells you the number of answers or roots you should have. For this question here, this would be, I'm supposed to have 3 answers. Why 3 answers? Because the highest power of the variable is 3. So I'll have 3 answers. So far, so good. I have just one answer, x equal to 1. I've gotten one of the answers. What about the other 2 answers? What do I do? Now, after you move this, you have this one here. What you have to do is that you rewrite this function, x cubed minus x squared. So I'll come here. I'll write this as x cubed minus x squared minus 4x plus 4. Let me just confirm that real quick. Yep, this is correct. Now, this your function here, this one here. You do long division with this function to the first root you've gotten. The root I got here is x minus 1. So I'll just take it as x minus 1. Use it to do a long division, right? So if we do this, what do we get? Now, to solve this, all you have to do is to take the first terms of each side. By that, I mean the first term here is x cubed. So what I'll have there is x cubed. This divided by the first term here is x divided by x. X cubed divided by x gives you x squared. This one here comes to the top, so it becomes x squared here. X squared here. So you have x squared. Use x squared to multiply everything you have here. So it becomes x squared times the first term. That's x squared times x, which is the first term. X squared times x gives you x cubed. Use x squared to multiply the second term there, which is x squared times minus 1. And that will give you minus x squared. Okay. Now solve this. What do you have here? To solve this, I'll have to subtract this. And in subtracting this, what I have here is simply first term is x cubed minus x cubed. X cubed minus x cubed means it is cancelling itself. So that becomes 0, right? So that's 0. Next up, what I have here is x squared minus x squared. More like saying this, I'm having this x squared what I have there is minus x squared. My next term here is negative x squared. That's minus x squared minus x squared. So that's saying this. Basically, what I'm saying here is minus x squared minus x squared. Minus this one here. Minus, as we know, gives us plus. Minus x squared plus x squared gives us what there? 0. Right? That's basic mathematics. Minus anything plus that same thing gives us 0. So that means the second one too. That means this and this gives us 0. Right? 0 first. Then the second one gives us also 0. But I will not write it. It is not necessary to write that. The next thing you have here is 4x. Observe that there is no x term here. Nothing here. All right. So all you have to do is just bring that value down. So I'll bring this minus 4x. I'll bring it down. All right. Or if you want to, you can say here is 0. So it becomes minus 4x minus 0, which is still the same thing. So that you don't have to stress. If the term is not there, just bring it down. Bring this down and bring this down. That's all. So from that, what I have there is minus 4x comes down and then plus 4 comes down. I have this. So I'm at this point here. The question will now be, will I still repeat the same process? Do I still divide this one here by this as I did earlier? The answer will be yes. Now, you only stop dividing if the power is lesser. By lesser, I mean if this was x squared, for instance, and this is x. Observe that x is the same thing as x power 1. Now, observe that this power here, the one outside the square root sign, is greater than the one inside. Why I say this is 1? In a case where the one outside the square root sign is greater than the one inside, that's at this point here, we can stop working on this or stop dividing. But if they have the same value, of course, initially, for what we have, that's x to the power 1. This is this x power 1. If they have the same power, we'll still divide. That means in this question, I will still divide because they are of the same power. All right, let me still divide here. What I have here is minus 4x. So I have minus 4x divided by what I have here. Don't forget, divide by only first term. Divided by x. X cancels x. What I have here is minus 4, right? Okay, so let's take minus 4. This will give you minus 4. So I have minus 4 here. Again, just as we did, use minus 4 to multiply everything you have here. Everything here. So you have the first thing there as minus 4 times your first term, x. Minus 4 times x is minus 4x. Okay. Next up, minus 4 times the next term, minus 1. Minus 4, that's this, times minus 1. You have minus times minus plus 4 times 1, 4. So the answer will give you plus 4. Okay, let's write that down. So this into plus 4. So I have plus 4. All right. Let's now simplify. If I simplify this, of course, to simplify this, I mean subtract literally. The first thing I have here is minus 4x minus 4x. And if you do that, what you have there is minus 4x minus 4x. Minus here gives you plus. That becomes plus 4x. Minus 4x plus 4x gives you what there? 0. And it's off. So the first thing there is 0. This is 0. Next up, I have plus 4 minus plus 4. If you take your calculator and you punch there, plus 4 minus plus 4. Plus minus gives you minus, so it becomes 4 minus 4, and that's 0. So you observe that I am left with just 0, right? I would write my 0 back here. So I have this as 0. So that's my answer. Now, this proves that when you're at this point here, this proves that you're on the right track. Okay. If you do this correctly and you get this x factor, x equal to 1 as a factor, then you move on over here and you divide, your answer must be 0. All right. There will be no remainder to be 0. That proves that you are on the right track. All right. So after getting this point, now what next? Your next task is to pick up what you have as your answer here at the top here, x squared minus 4. Let's pick up x squared minus 4. We'll pick x squared minus 4, this one here. We'll solve this as a quadratic equation. What do? Well, we can say equate it to 0 if you want to, right? Equate it to 0. That's your answer there, equate to 0. And if I want to solve this becomes x squared is equal to minus 4 crosses over, it becomes plus 4. That becomes plus 4. How do we get x? From here, x will be equal to the square root of 4. Take square root. And from here, we know that the square root of 4, x, is equal to, now normally, we know that the square root of 4 is 2. But don't forget that we said this is the part 2. And the part 2 will give you two different answers. And in an actual sense, square root of 4 is plus or minus 2 from here. All right, so from here, that means x will be equal to plus 2 or minus 2. All right, so I've gotten the other two answers here. Now, note that in some other cases, when you solve questions like this, your answer may not be in this form, but it could be another quadratic equation. For instance, after dividing this, you could have your answer as something that looks like, let's say, x squared minus 3x minus 2. You could have this there. How do you solve this? You solve this as a quadratic equation, right? I'll leave a link on how to solve quadratic equation in the video description. To check video description, I'll leave a link on how you can solve quadratic equation. In this case, after solving this, you have that x is equal to minus 1. And of course, x is equal to minus 2. You could have this one here, or plus 1 and plus 2, as the case may be. You could have this as your answer after solving. All right, so the idea is that after dividing, you have a quadratic equation. You solve this particular quadratic equation, and you have your other two answers. In essence, we have that x is equal to, from the very first answer, look at this. From the very first answer, we had that x is equal to 1. Look at this, 1. So x is equal to 1. Again, when we combine the other two answers, x is equal to plus 2, and then, or x is equal to what there? Minus 2. These are the answers we get when y is equal to 0. Hence, let's get their coordinates. Hence, the coordinate is simply, remember we write x before y, okay? The first coordinate there is 1. When x is 1, y is 0, comma. The second coordinate is that it's plus 2. When x is plus 2, y is 0. And the third coordinate there is minus 2. So when x is minus 2, y is 0. You have this. Okay, so we've gotten our point here. At this point, we can now sketch this function. Okay, now this is for the first function. Let's sketch this function on, let's say, graph sheet. We are done with the first function. Don't forget, we're giving two functions in this question. Let's go back to this. Go back to the original question. If I go back to the original question, you can say this. I've done the first function. I'm done with it. Let's get for the second function. That's II. All right. II says f of x equal to 3 minus 2x. So I'll come here. Let me just come this way. II says f of x is equal to 3 minus 2x. How do you solve this? The same pattern. I said your first task is you say let f of x be equal to what there? Y. And hence you have that y, which is f of x, is equal to 3 minus 2x. You have this. Now, after doing this, what's your next task? We said your next task is to simply say at x equal to 0. So at x equal to 0, what is y? At x equal to 0, you can see that y will be equal to 3 minus 2. We said x should be 0. That becomes 2 times 0. This will be equal to 3 minus 2 times 0 is 0. 3 minus 0 is what there? 3. Hence, what's the coordinate? Hence, we are saying that at x equal to 0, as we said here. So at x is 0, then y is what there? 3. So we have 0, 3 as the intercept on the y-axis. That's this one here. Now to get the intercept of the x-axis, we'll repeat the same process where we say let's y be equal to 0. So we get x. So at let's say y equal to 0, what's the value of x? All you have to do is to come back to this equation here. You have 3. So y is 3. That becomes y 3. Sorry, at y equal to 0. So when you say y is equal to 3 minus 2x, y is now 0. So it becomes 0 is equal to 3 minus 2x. Let's get the value of x there. First thing I want to do here is move minus 2x over here if you want to, or you can move 3, whichever one you still have the same answer. Minus 2x moves over here, becomes plus 2x. So 2x is equal to 3. All right, minus 2x moves over here, becomes plus 2x. Or you can choose to move 3, whichever way you still have the same answer at the end. To get x, I'll divide it by 2, divide here by 2, and from here, this cancels this. We can say that x is equal to what there? 3 over 2. 3 over 2 is equal to 1.5. That's the value, 1.5. So what's the coordinate here? Hence, the coordinate here is that when x is 1.5, y is equal to what there? 0. You have this. All right, so this is the x-intercept. It's called the x-intercept. All right, now having got these values now, we can now plot or we can now sketch these functions. Let's get the first function there. To sketch these functions, what I want to do is that I want to get a Cartesian coordinate system. By that I mean I want to get my x and y axis. So let's get x axis, let's get y axis. Okay, so we'll draw the x and y axis. Before then, looking at this, the value of x here is 1 plus 2n minus 2. So we want to know how to draw that. Somewhere around here, we'll take, did we have any negative y value? Let's see. The y values here, for the first one here, value of y is 4 from this one here. What about the other equation? From this one is 3. So it's 4 and 3 typically. All right, y here is 3. Okay. Okay. All right, so 3 and 4. Okay, so 3 and 4. Now let's plot the graph. Okay, so let's now sketch the graph. Now to sketch the graph, what you want to notice is that I have more of the positive y values. So I'll bring this a bit lower so I can contain enough positive y values. I have this. And let's take this. So I'm taking this as one. This is 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, this is 1. Take this as 1. So 2 makes 1, 1, 2. This is 2. Right. Okay. Excuse me. This is 2. This is 3, and this is 4. All right. That's for y. For the x, I'll try to make it the same thing. Let's see as much as I can. This is 1. For x, this is 1. This looks good. 1. Let me see. Now 2. Of course, it doesn't really have to be straight. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, but try to make it as perfect as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why it's called a sketch. Okay. Here minus 1 for x. Here minus 2 for x. Here minus 3 for x. All right. So let me call this a positive x. I'll call this a positive x-axis x. This is negative x. This is positive y. This is negative y. Just move this one a bit. Move this here. Right here. Come here and put this as negative y. Just negative y. Negative x, positive y. All right, so we have this. So far so good. We have this. Let's try to impute values. Let's see what we have. Of course. Okay, just to be on the clear, this is positive 1. All right, this is positive 2. This is 3. This is 4. This is negative 1. This is negative 2. This is negative 3. This is positive 1 for y. Just trying to get my graph ready. This is positive 2. This is 3, and this is 4. Let's get for the negative of y, just so we can get a value for this. Somewhere around this 1, 2, this is negative 1 for y, right? You may not actually put in these values as much as this, right? You don't really have to, but just to illustrate my point, okay? Let's take for the first function, this one here, the cubic function. They said, look at this first point, which is this 0 and 4. When x is 0, y is 4. Let's plot that point there. When x is 0, y is 4, x 0, y 4, that's this point here. So here's my first point. So the graph will cut this point here. Okay. So the first point is this one here, 0 and 4. So I have this. Okay, what are the other points there for the x? The x points are, we have when x is 1, y is 0. So it will cut the x axis at 1, 2, and minus 2. So 1, 2, and minus 2. Okay, to cut the x at 1, 1 is this point here. 1, this is 1 here. To cut the x axis at 2, this is 2, and then minus 2, and then minus 2. All right, so we are saying that to cut the x axis at this point, and then this point, it will cut the y axis at this point. Okay. All right, so how do we get this done? Now, after noting these points here, the next thing you want to do is that you want to connect them using a curve. Okay, it's a curved graph, and for a curved graph, for degree 3, that's a cubic polynomial, what you have is something that looks like either like this or like this, right? Either this way A or this way B. Now, to easily know what to look like, try to trace the points, right? If I try to trace the points, we can see that there's an upper value here in between -2 and +1. Hence, this should go up this way so that you meet with the upper value and then come down. There's no value here, so we can say it now go this way. So you can see the curve there, right? So this gives you an idea of how the curve should look like. Because there's an upper value here, that means I have to move from here, from this point. Let's call this A. From A, I have to go up to meet the upper value, and then at the upper value B, I'll have to come back to this again. All right, just like this. Okay, so let me sketch this real quick. From here. Now, this value here, mind you, this 4 here does not necessarily mean that um it will cut here exactly. Now, let me show what I mean. It does not necessarily mean that it will cut here like this. No, right? It doesn't mean that the apex. It doesn't mean that the apex point. Let's say we are going like this. It doesn't mean that the apex point will be 4. No, it simply means that to cut the y-axis at 4. So it could go like this and then come to and then cut like this. So this now becomes a 4. All right. So notice that's why drawing this. So I'm saying this. This will probably go up this way. Let me see. I can trace something here like this, something like this. Cut this at 4 and then start coming down like this. Go like this. Let's see. Come down like this. Let's see how we can get this done. Then go up like this. Okay. All right. So you see, I've traced this. After tracing this, let me try to sketch this. All right. This is a hand sketching. So, okay. Let's see this. Let's see this. Something like this. Good one. Come this way again here. Cut the 4 there. Starts going down. Trying to trace this as much as I can. Oops, missed that. Okay. I think I'm going a bit off. So let me just come here, draw this one like this, cut here, goes like this from here, goes up this way. Yeah. And cut this part too. Okay. All right. From here, we go up, go up. Okay. Very good. So good. So this is what the graph would look like in a sketch. Okay. Let me just elongate this a bit down. Okay. Good. This one, if you want, you can take it up again if you want to, like this. Please, in yours, do not show these dots. These dots here are not necessary. But mine, I'm just trying to sketch. That's why. To make a clearer diagram. Of course, if possible, you can come here and say f of x. Just write the equation. So small f. This is f of x. F of x equal to, it was x cubed minus x squared minus 4x this plus 4. That's the equation. If you want, you can put it there. Okay, let's get the next point there. The next point there, that's for function 2. For function 2, this one here, the points are, look at this, 0 and 3. When x is 0, y is 3. So 0, 3, and 1.5. Right, so 0, 3, 1.5. 1.50. Okay, let me show what that means. It means when x is 0, y is 3. That's this point here. This is your first point, 0 and 3. Okay. Second point is that when y is 0, x is 1.5. 1.5 is halfway between 1 and 2. This is 1. This is 2. Halfway will be 1.5. Somewhere around here will be 1.5. That's it. Okay. So let's put in that 1.5 there, halfway. Let's see. Somewhere around here. Okay. I'll call this 1.5. All right. So this is 30, this point. Here is 30. Here is no, this here is 03, please. Here is 1.50. Now, to get this one, you want to know that this is a straight line graph. All right. It's a straight line graph because you literally had what's the equation again? The equation there was look at this, 3 minus 2x. The power of x here is 1. So it makes it a straight line graph. All right. Okay, let's go write that down. Okay, let's see. So all I have to do is to find a way to join these points, join this point here to this point. That's what I have to do. All right, let's get that done. Let's get that done. Let's get that done. Let's see from here. Just join this to this point. Okay, I have this. Okay, come back again. The same points. Just make sure it's just a single line, all right? Just one single line. Join them together, and that's it. We have this. All right. Okay, so basically this becomes the graph, or this is the two functions plotted on the same axis. That's on the same x and y axis. This is what it will look like. Okay. And of course, if you want, you can also write the function there, f of x equal to 3 minus 2x. Let's write that down. F of x equal to look for somewhere good. Should we use down here? Let me just use up here. You can say this one here is f of x. It's equal to 3 minus 2x. All right, so I have this. So basically, this is the answer to the question. Okay. All right, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button. If you enjoyed this video, do want to like this video. All right. Leave a comment. Tell us if you enjoyed the video. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section. Also, don't forget to subscribe. If it's your first time here or you're yet to subscribe, please do want to subscribe. Hit the bell icon and select all so that you get notified whenever we upload a new content. Then finally, do well to share this video to your friends so that they can also learn. Thank you and see you in our next class.